Okay, hi, welcome to another Doctor Who newbie hit and miss episode. We're now on to episode 5, which is going to be covering Peter Davison. So, yeah, there's going to be much more limited pool with him, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy because they didn't have as many episodes compared to the previous bunch, but we'll just get straight into it. So, the 3 episodes that I personally would not recommend newcomers to the series to watch, and again, following these chronologically and not in terms of my preference for the stories. 4 to Doomsday. Again, with Doctor Who, you want to be captivating an audience with the story and really bringing them into what's actually being, shown in the episode. This one does not captivate at any point. It is just very slow, very dreary, very dull, and not a very good start for him as a Doctor. So it doesn't present anything too, emotionally gripping. Sort of a kind of like a few awkward scenes and then things that don't really make a lot of sense with what they do, and just generally feels like it drags out more than anything else. So that's one episode. Next one is the Arc of Infinity, which is a story that does have the return of a villain from a previously good story, which I did recommend from John Pertwee's lot. That is Omega. He does return in this, but this does not reflect his character in the same way that it did in the 3 Doctors, and it's for that kind of reason that it would be sort of a soiling to the character's name, as it were, from watching this story if you saw this first and then saw 3 Doctors afterwards. But this is definitely one to not watch right off the bat with a fresh look at the series, because it is just, again, it disappoints in a lot of ways with the storytelling. Not in case of boredom, but just that there was a lot of other good things that came before it. Which is kind of a similar thing with my third thing for not recommending for starting, and that's Warriors of the Deep. I feel a bit bad about saying this, but it's a bad story, unfortunately, and again, it just doesn't really seem to fit in a lot of ways. I had this feeling that there was a very good story behind this, and there was originally going to be something a lot better with this, apparently, but because of a lot of use of studio issues at the time, that they had to basically rush all the way through this, and it does show a lot. And unfortunately, it was because of this story that the main BBC showrunner was trying to get the series cancelled ever since, despite the fact it was his decision to make it rushed in the first place. So it was basically his fault that he decided to cancel it, which is very stupid, but we obviously end up with it the way that we did. But yeah, I do have a soft spot for this story, but again, it's not one I think is very good for a starting point for newcomers to the series. So those are the 3 that I don't recommend for Peter Davison, and now to the 3 that I do recommend. This first one's going to be kind of an interesting one, but Kinder. There are some people that aren't a big fan of Tegan, but I personally love the Mara episodes with this one and Snake Dance. I'll probably put them in the same sort of spot with recommendations. I really like them, and I think it definitely does show a nice sort of alternative side to the character, and just the way that she manages the situation, because she's put right in the middle of the problematic monster and stuff. So it's I think it's a very good, interesting story, and I think very underrated in a lot of ways. Adric's not so good in this, but then again, most people don't really like Adric too much, and unfortunately I can see why. But yeah, one that I would say is a good starting point for Peter Davison fans. Well, people want to start with Peter Davison. Next up, another kind of odd choice. That's Black Orchid, another sort of underrated gem, I would say. It's just 2 parts long, doesn't take too much. It's a simple, slight murder mystery sort of thing with it. Very quick to get through, and just nice little taster for when the Doctor's on Earth and stuff. They have to deal with, human issues, not just aliens all the time. So, you got that. And then the final recommendation is not going to be the case of Androzani, funnily enough, because I'll explain in a sec. But it's going to be the anniversary special, The 5 Doctors. This is it's a very good anniversary story, probably the best one that we've got out of all the ones that have been done. Very nice balance of characters, very interesting overall. You get this version of the DVD, you get both the English and the American releases of the story, and it's it flows really nicely overall as a standalone thing. And just a very nice sort of starting point, celebrating 20 years that it was on air originally. So like I said, I didn't include Caves of Androzani on this list, or Earthshock, even though Earthshock is one of my favourite all-time episodes, just simply because they're like these kind of lists. I'm hoping to sort of show off certain stories which I think are worth sort of getting a taste before, and then you get more of an appreciation of the better stories as they come along. So these ones are good, but then Cage of Entozani and Shock are debatably better. So you can appreciate them more once you see the other stories, get more of a context of what Doctor Who can be, and then you appreciate every story in its own right and stuff, which is why I don't have it on this list. But yeah, that's that for this episode for Peter Davison, and I'll catch you next time for when I do Colin Baker. So long, take care.